long hearing today in the state Supreme Court chambers as the justices hearing arguments on whether they should consider a case that a Dane County judge acted inappropriately when she struck down the collective bargaining law passed by the legislature in March. Should the court intervene to reverse her action? So what's exactly at stake before the Supreme Court, and what could potential rulings mean?
For some answers, we turn now to law expert UW-Madison Professor Howard Schweber. We welcome you to Live at 5. Thanks for talking to us about this.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about, first off, the importance of this ruling. In your mind, when you heard about this ruling, what does this mean?
Well, the Supreme Court didn't make any ruling today. Judge Sumi's ruling ended the trial portion and reached a final initial judgment on the legal questions about the passage of the bill. Ever since March, the administration has been trying to get the state Supreme Court to jump in and shortcut that process. Ordinarily, when a district court judge, issues a ruling, you could appeal to the Court of Appeals. After the Court of Appeals rules, you appeal to the state Supreme Court. Ever since the attempt at an interlocutory appeal back in March, the administration has been trying to get a quicker answer than that. And that's what they're trying to do again today. They want the state Supreme Court to step in and short-circuit the process and give them a favorable ruling. That's what they want, obviously, right away. And a lot of the argument today was the Dane County arguing that, no, let the process go through the regular appeals. There's no need to rush. And the Attorney General arguing that the state Supreme Court should act immediately. So that's sort of the background issue. Regardless of which way the court's going to rule on the underlying question, should they rule right away? Or should they let the process take its course?
What is your knee-jerk reaction just watching the hearings today?
I was startled by the way judges on both sides of the sort of political divide really dug into the witnesses and were really pushing them. The hearing went on for 4.5 hours. It was scheduled for 2. Clearly, there's huge interest. The justices, are meeting right now to decide what to do on this case. I had initially thought that the state Supreme Court would likely duck it, which they had a very easy way to do. They could very easily have just said, look, there's been a ruling by the lower court judge. Technically, what's before the Supreme Court is a petition to ask them to take over a case that's no longer in operation, the case in Judge Sumi's court, which is finished. Up until now, given repeated opportunities, the state Supreme Court has ducked the issues. So I kind of thought they would just do that again. But today, I was quite surprised at the intensity with which the justices were really digging into the case. And I'd have to say now, it looks as though they seem to be leaning toward picking up the substantive legal questions.
What if they decide not to pick up this case? What happens
then? It goes to the Court of Appeals, and presumably from there to the state Supreme Court, no matter who wins or loses in the Court of Appeals. That process would take months. Long before that time, the Republican leadership has said they would put the collective bargaining provisions into the biennial budget and see it voted on. The recall elections would also take place before the court heard the case. So really, there's a political question. Do the justices want to own this issue? The state Supreme Court can jump in and make a ruling. They certainly have that power. If they choose, and to rule in favor of the state, I should mention, would require changing some long-established precedents. They can do that, but it's a controversial thing to do. So if the state Supreme Court issues on the substance of the case right now, they will own it. Politically, they might prefer to see the legislature. I would have thought to see the legislature own it, just as the Republicans in the legislature would really be just as happy to see the court take this thing over.
It is going to be interesting, regardless of how they rule on it.
It's fascinating, and I might add, utterly unprecedented, as far as I know, in Wisconsin political history.
And it's far from over.
Very far from over. It's just beginning.
All right, thank you, sir. We will, I'm sure, be talking about this again in the very near future.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being with us today.